Greetings to class 12 students and welcome to a new video of economics. I'm your Nigam sir and today we'll start a new chapter that is laws of return. In this video, the topics that we will be understanding are the meaning of production function, then we will understand the types of production function, and lastly, we will discuss about the different concepts like total product, average product, and marginal product. Now, let us start with the meaning of production. We often have heard this term and we are well known of this term production. In the simple sense, the production refers to the physical conversion of raw materials into a finished goods which are used by the human in order to satisfy their want. But in economics, the term production has a little bit wider sense. In economics, production refers to the act of making goods and services and thereby adding utility to the object. Or we can simply say that it is the process of converting the raw materials into a finished goods and thereby adding utility to the object. So that is what is known as production. The another concept is the meaning of production function. Production usually the production process usually involves the use of various inputs or factor services in order to produce a commodity. For example, if we consider the production of a pen, then it requires different raw materials like plastic, ink, steel, and different other chemicals. So, in ordinary sense, we can say that production functions shows the functional relationship between the inputs and the outputs. So, the definition of production function is a production function shows the maximum quantity of a commodity that can be produced per unit of a time with a given amount of inputs when the best production technique available is used. Alternatively, the production function can also be defined as the minimum amount of inputs that are required to produce a certain level of output with the best use of with the use of best available technique of production. For example, if we are considering a paint factory, then the production function for a paint factory may indicate that it may indicate the maximum quantity of paints that can be produced with a certain amount of inputs when the best technology of producing paint is used. Alternatively, we can also put it in other way that production function for a pen consist of the minimum quantities of a plastic, ink, chemicals required to produce a given number of pens per day. A production function may also be expressed in the algebraic equation as Qx equals to F, which means the F1, F2, F3 till Fn, where here Qx means the quantity of output of commodity X, while F1, F2, F3 till Fn are the physical quantities of different inputs used to produce a commodity X. If we assume a simple production function and if we consider that there are only two inputs, namely labor and capital, then the production function can be written as in the function as Qx is a function of L and K, where L out here means labor and K out here means capital. This is a production function which is a relationship between the labor and the capital. Now let us understand what is short run and what is long run. Short run refers to the period of time during which the amount of some inputs called fixed factors cannot be changed. For example, the amount of plants, equipments, machinery, etc. is fixed in the short run. It cannot be increased. The number of machineries, factories, plants cannot be increased in the short run. So that is why those items or those capital are referred to as the fixed factor, because it cannot be changed or increased in the short run. Whereas there are other factors like labor which can be changed in order to increase the amount of output. In order to, for a producer, in order to increase the output in the short run, at a short period of time, he can only increase the number of workers. He cannot increase the number of factories in such a short period of time. That is why labor is considered to be as variable, while the machineries, factories, plants are considered to be as fixed factor or fixed input, as their supply cannot be increased, as their quantities cannot be increased. So now let us move to the long run. Long run is defined as the time period during which all the factors of production can be varied. Or in simple sense, we can say that long run refers to the time period where all the inputs that are used in the production can be changed. It can be increased or decreased according to the demand. Now let us understand the different types of production function. Let us start with the short run production function. A short run production function refers to a situation when only one input is variable and all other inputs are assumed to be constant. What this means is that a short run production function usually shows the relationship where only one input can be changed while all other inputs cannot be changed. It remains constant. So that type of production function is known as the short run production function. This behavior of change in output is referred to as returns to factor. So all those behavior of the change in output in the short run are usually referred to as returns to a factor. So the concept of returns to factor is a short run phenomenon. Now let us move to the long run production function. Long run production function studies the change in output when all the inputs used in the production of a commodity are changed simultaneously and in the same proportion. So this is a subject matter of a returns to scale. So what do you mean by a long run production function? Long run production function shows the changes in output that can be made by changing all the inputs in the production process in the same proportion. So that is what is known as long run production function. Usually long run production function shows the changes in output when all the inputs or the factors are changed simultaneously and in the same quantity. So this were the short run production function and the long run production function. The short run production function is referred to as returns to factor, while the long run production function is the subject matter of returns to a scale. So that is why the laws of returns has been categorized into two halves, that is it is of two types, that is returns to factor and returns to scale. Returns to factor is a short run phenomenon, while returns to scale is a long run phenomenon. Returns to factor, in this case only one of the factor is variable while all other factors are constant. But in returns to scale, all the inputs or all the factors of production are changed in order to increase the amount of output. Now let us understand some of the basic concepts like total product, average product, and marginal product. Total product. Total product is also known as total physical product. So total product refers to the total amount of a commodity produced during a specific period of time by combining particular quantity of a variable factor with a given quantity of a fixed factor. It is also called total returns. So total product or total physical product simply means the total quantity of a commodity that can be produced by combining the variable factor and the fixed factor. So variable factor is usually the labor, the workers, while a fixed factor is the number of machinery. So by combining the labor and the machinery, whatever total quantity of a commodity is produced, that is what is known as total product. If you take an example of a pen factory only, and if there are five machines to produce a pen, so in order to produce a pen, you also require laborer or worker. So in order to increase the number of the production of a pen, the producer have to increase the number of a worker. So the whatever production is done by the number of worker is what is known as total product. Now let us understand what do you mean by average product. Average product or average physical product refers to the output per unit of a variable factor. It is also called average return. Average product means nothing but it is the average quantity of a commodity that each workers produces. Here we have a formula for average product. APL equals to the total product divided by labor. So average product is nothing but it is the ratio of the total product divided by the number of worker. So it simply means how much quantity of a commodity each laborer produces. That is what is known as average product. Now comes the marginal product. Marginal product or marginal physical product is defined as the change in total product resulting from one additional unit of a variable factor. It is also called marginal return. So marginal, the term marginal means additional. So marginal product means the addition in the output when some addition is made in the number of worker. So it is the additional output. So that is why marginal product is given by the formula MPL equals to change in total product divided by the change in laborer. Simply it means the change in the total output because of the change in the number of worker. So that is what is known as marginal product. If you look at this schedule, then it will be more clear about the total product, average product, and the marginal product. So here we have the number of workers. Here we have the total product. So suppose there are five machineries, and initially when no worker is used, then there will be no production. So suppose there are five machineries and the machinery remains the same. The machinery out here is not changed because since it is a fixed factor, it cannot be changed in the short run. So suppose if there are five machinery and if there is one worker in that factory, then that one worker is able to produce 100 units of a commodity. Now suppose the producer wants to produce more units of a commodity. So he will add one more worker. So two worker will produce the total quantity of output as 220 units. So this is the total quantity of the commodity that is produced by two workers. So similarly, three worker is producing 360 unit of a commodity. Similarly, five worker is producing the commodity as 650. So this is the total production. Now comes the third concept, that is the average product, where average product means it is the ratio of the total product divided by the number of worker. So this 100 we get by dividing this by this, that is 100 by 1. So similarly 110 we get by dividing 220 divided by 2. Similarly 120 we get by dividing 360 divided by 3. So average product is nothing but it is the amount, it is the amount of output that each individual produces, or one worker produces. Now comes the fourth concept, that is the marginal product. Sorry, the third concept, that is the marginal product. So marginal product means the change in total product due to addition of one more worker. Suppose initially there was one worker where the total production was 100. So in that situation the marginal product remains the same. Now suppose there is addition of one more worker and now the number of worker is 2. So because of the addition of one more worker, the total product is 220. So because of addition of one more worker, what is the increase in the total product? So the increase in the total product is 120. That is 220 minus 100 is 120. So similarly, if the producer wants to produce more, and if he adds one more worker, and then now the worker becomes 3, then the total product is 360. So how much addition is there? 360 minus 220, that is 140. So this is how the marginal product is calculated. So this was about the concept of the total, average and marginal product. We have come to the end of this video. Thank you students for watching.